And that's your event code right there also. Everybody see that?
Yeah, we can see that, Rusty.
Yes. While everybody's doing that, I'm going to warm up my coffee real quick, so I'm going to turn my mic off just for a minute. Or no, I'm not, because I can't while I'm in presentation mode. So you're going to have to hear my coffee maker going for a second.
If you don't mind, I'll just jump in and quickly make a plug for the EEN,
Sure.
which is Efficiency Vermont's contractor network. We're joined by the folks at Rheem today. I quickly wanted to let everyone know that the Efficiency Excellence Network, Efficiency Vermont's contractor network, is partnering with manufacturers across the spectrum of technologies to promote training opportunities related to energy efficient equipment. Our hope is that you'll leave with additional information and knowledge on how to install and work with equipment that you're putting in throughout Vermont. It's also our hope that this can serve as a sort of information sharing opportunity for you to build your expertise around equipment you're working with. So feel free to jump in with any questions you've got or anything you've come across in the field you'd like to chat about. If you're not already in the EEN, I'd encourage you to reach out to Efficiency Vermont to join. You'll be notified of training similar to this. The folks at Rheem are a great resource, and we, can easily chat with them if any questions come up from you guys. And then you also have access to a host of other benefits that can be useful in your day-to-day operation.
Awesome. Thanks, Cooper.
Diane, I can't see mark how many people are on, so you see some people signing on. Just let me know when you think we're at a capacity where we can go ahead and get started.
Yeah, we can give it one more minute, Russ, and then we'll get it started. If guys sign on in the interim, that's okay. But for the sake of respecting these gentlemen's time, we'll get this party started in about a minute or so.
Okay.
So while we're waiting, how has Vermont been doing with the reopening process? Have things been going pretty smooth?
I think overall things are going pretty well. There's unfortunately it kind of near Burlington. I guess there's a little cluster of COVID-19 cases that have sort of come about. We benefit from really sparse population here. That a lot of other places don't. So we don't really have, outside of Burlington, there's never like a line to get into the grocery store or anything like that. We're pretty easily able to keep our distance even under normal circumstances. So I think we definitely benefit from that. But overall, stuff's definitely starting to pick up. And I know homeowners and folks like that seem to have very little resistance to contractors coming out and doing work. So it's good from the contractor point of view. And I think any work that they had bid prior to this is they're able to fulfill it at this point. So in that regard, it's going pretty well.
So you didn't see issues like we had some other areas where new construction was shut down. Even plumbers were said, if it's not a true emergency, please don't. So we saw that in some regions, but not so much where you guys are.
We had that, but it was kind of more short term, I think. We had like the essential work only was for at least a few weeks to a month, and then but they kind of got contractors back to work a little bit earlier than some other sectors. And then, a lot of the crews around here are pretty small. So there's a lot of guys that work with like one or two other people. So, and like definitely the small crews were allowed to go back to work sooner as well.
All right. So no, that's good then. That helps us to understand how you guys have been impacted, and certainly how it affects the contractors. So thank you.
Yep.
All righty. Well, I guess if everybody's ready, then we'll go ahead and get started through this. We're going to, and I apologize if at any point in time my computer freezes up, it's because of certain programs that are running in the background that IT can't figure out how to stop. So get through this. We're going to talk about tankless. We're going to compare, well, just like now. It's ignoring me. Hang on a second. Yep, we're locked up. All right, hold on a second.
Rusty, is there any way you can turn that over to me?
You've got this on. You have the.
You keep working on that.
Mark, you can request control.
Yeah, just take control, but you're going to have to put the PowerPoint up on yours. Let me stop sharing there real quick. See if I can get this thing to straighten up. There it goes. I got it. No, maybe not.
I just requested control.
Let me try this one more time real quick, Mark, because I think I got it going now. Everybody see that?
We can.
Volume.
Let me real quick. Let me preface this slide you're getting ready to look, this little video. Rheem is really proud of our sustainability, and in today's world, more and more people are really pushing the green, which is nothing wrong with that at all. I'm all for it. And because they're so proud of their sustainability, we've got this little video you're going to watch here for a second while we talk about it, and then we'll get into this tankless presentation.
No volume. Go by the video, Rusty, please. Rusty, no volume.
Evidently, the audio is not playing. It just came through on my phone. Mark just told me. I don't know what happened there, but we'll go ahead and get started with this. These are some of the goals that they're talking about in that video. Reducing the greenhouse emissions by 50%, zero landfill waste, products that boast 50% reduction in greenhouse footprint, and that if you're familiar with our hybrid and some of the other products, you understand where we're going there. And the fact that we're going to try to train we're going to train 250,000 plumbers and contracts in sustainable products or sustainable installations and recycling best practices. With that being said, let's get into our tankless. Before I get started in this, Mike had sent this over, the slide. Anybody who's not familiar with this is pretty good. I haven't seen this in any of our areas down here. $300 on mid-efficiency rebate from Vermont Gas, and $500 looks like on the high efficiency. So keep that in mind. You're putting these things in. Plus you have federal tax credits because these things are Energy Star rated. So anybody needs any more information on that, they can contact Mike or say something here at the end, and we'll try to get this back up so you can look at it and copy down anything you need. All right, key things on tankless location. A lot of times when contractors are going in and replacing a tank heater with a tankless, one of the things to take in mind is where you're going to hang this thing. Obviously, this isn't going to set freestanding on the floor by itself. It has to hang. We have an option for that. Rheem has what we call a easy rack kit that we can you can pick up. It takes about 5 minutes to put together. You can anchor it to the floor right where the tank heater was. Now you don't have to repipe everything to a wall. You drop it all straight down, bring it straight into your tankless unit. Some of the things to keep in mind, like electrical connection, you will have to have a 110 volt available to it where it's at, because it does need electric to run, even though it is gas. And same things as with a tank heater, maintaining proper distances from combustibles, things like that. Water supply, 14 psi, Rheem's solid tankless. It'll work all the way down to 14 psi, which means it works real well on well systems. I got a lot of them in my area on wells, and that fluctuation in pressure drop has a tendency to really mess with tankless. Ours doesn't bother. It doesn't bother. It doesn't mind it at all. So keep that in mind. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is where most guys fail when they do an installation of a tankless, because they don't take into consideration what they're doing or what they're replacing. You take a tank heater, typical tank heater, you've got between 30 and 42,000 BTU, most cases residential tank heater. You're pulling that out, now you're putting something in capable up to 199,000 BTU. You've got to size your gas for the house. You got to make sure that you have enough gas in the house to even run the product. Count up your BTU in your house. You've got your furnace. If they've got a gas range, gas dryers, all these things need to be added up, taken into consideration. Calculate your cubic feet. And then when you've done that and you've got a total, check your meter outside. Make sure it's going to put through enough gas to supply the house what you need. Also check your lines inside your house and make sure they're sized properly. We'll work from 4-inch to 10.5 inches on water column on natural gas, from 8 to 14 on LP. That 4-inch, we've been tested all the way down to 3.5 inches of water column, so it will work at that level. But understand, when you get under that 6-inch water column on the natural, you're going to start burning nasty. You're going to get a bad burn. You're not going to get a good efficient. The heater's not going to be working efficiently. All right. Rheem's tankless. One of the things you'll notice is we do use a copper heat exchanger on our primary. We use a stainless steel for our secondary. All your condensation in a high efficiency product takes 99% of it takes place in that secondary heat exchanger, because you're preheating your water. So that's why that one is stainless. We still use copper in our primary, because copper, hands down, has a much better transfer rate for heat. You'll notice we have what we call an overheat limiter. It's basically a wrap with a, we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. It goes around the heat exchanger, has a carbon fiber element in it. You've got your 2 flame rods, your spark ignition. Pretty simple inside, really, gentlemen, and tearing it apart and working on it is pretty easy. One of the things I want to point out, we're the only ones that do this at this point, as far as I know, condensate neutralizer. All your condensate that you generate in a furnace or in any combustion situation is acidic. We put a neutralizer, it's built in there, so any condensate that comes out of this unit is neutralized. It's a 7 pH, so it's right where it needs to be. Big deal in a lot of areas. It's becoming code, I'm noticing, in a lot of the areas that I deal with in the Midwest. They're making people put condensate neutralizers in now just because of the inundation the treatment plants are getting from acidic sewage, and they just can't, they're treating it, but it's costing them money. All right, features and benefits. Like I said, you got the Guardian overheat film wrap. Allows the best clearance to combustibles. We allow 1/2 inch clearance side to side if you've got a multiple unit install, and 0 on the back. It can be right against the wall. It's no problem. Sorry, this thing has a tendency to do that for some reason. 12 years on the heat exchanger. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but I do want to point out that our heat exchanger warranty, we're not sending you out a heat exchanger and expecting you to rebuild that heater in the home. When that heat exchanger, if it goes out inside that 12-year heat exchanger warranty period, we're going to send you out a completely new unit. You take that one off the wall, put a new unit in, and walk away from it. Give you 60 feet of 60 feet of venting on 2-inch, 150 on 3, factory wired controller. Activation and minimum flow rates, those are big too. There's only one other competitor out there that gets close to us. We are activated at 0.4 GPM, and we will keep giving you hot water all the way down to 0.26 GPM. So you can turn that, like in the morning when I'm shaving, you turn that faucet on, I can throttle that back to a trickle. As long as I got a 1/4 gallon a minute coming out of there, I'm still getting hot water out of my faucet. And we have a built-in maintenance feature, which we will explain here in a little bit. Tankless gas. I'm talking to an energy efficiency company, or in front of a bunch of people from energy efficiency, and I'm going to say something here. People talk about putting tankless in because it's going to save them money, and it will if they live the lifestyle that they did with their tank. They take 5-minute showers, 6-minute showers, in and out, do that, live just like they did with that tank. This thing is going to save them money because they're not going to be heating water when they don't need to. Only time it's going to be using gas is when they're heating water. Problem is, most people, when they get a tankless, they put it in their house. They might live that way at first, but as soon as they figure out I can stand in a shower for 45 minutes, somebody can come in right behind me and get a hot shower, and nobody's ever going to run out of hot water, they're not standing in the shower 6 and 8 minutes anymore. They're taking those 15, 20, 30-minute showers. So the savings part of it kind of goes out the window at that point. But tankless can save you money if you live like you did with the tank. Our efficiency ratings on our mid efficiency is 82. I think we're 96 UEF or 95 UEF, not 93. That's a misprint, I believe, on our high efficiency. The longer vent runs I was talking about, like I said, we give you up to 60 feet on 2-inch now and 150 on 3. So no matter where you're trying to get this thing vented out, where you put it in the house, you're going to be able to get a vent out of there at some point. Somewhere there's got to be a place within that distance that you can get one out. The other thing I want to talk about real quick, power direct venting. Anytime you put a tankless in, anybody who says you can power vent a tankless, it's not entirely true, because you need to do, we follow National Fuel and Gas Code, and you need to do your due diligence when you put something into a house, a tankless. For every 1,000 BTU of burner, you're going to need 50 cubic feet of airspace. So for 199,000 BTUs, you're basically talking about a 20 by 30 by 10 foot room, or 20 by 50 by 10 foot room. Not too many people have a basement that big that you're putting one in. And if they do, it's not an empty basement. It's broken up and partitioned off into rooms, things like that. So power direct vent these things, and you're never going to have an issue. Condensing versus non-condensing. These two heaters are pretty much the same. You get the parts kit, same parts are in the condensing that are in the non-condensing. Differences are going to be a little programming on the board. The fact that the non-condensing, you have a condensate neutralizer you don't have in the in the condensing you have a condensate neutralizer you don't have in the non-condensing because it's not needed. Everything else is the same. Gas valves, gas hookups, water hookups, all the same. It's going to step through a couple things that are different. The Guardian overheat film wrap is the same in both. Here's where we're talking about that film wrap. Now, the way this works, if you get a hot spot on that heat exchanger, or anything really inside that cabinet catches fire or creates enough heat to melt this plastic, it's going to break that carbon fiber filament. It's going to shut that heater down. That heater now is dead. That's a done. It's a boat anchor at that point. You cannot replace this overheat film wrap. Reason being, everybody asks, well, why won't they sell me that? Well, if there's something catastrophic enough to melt this inside that cabinet, then that's not the only thing wrong. And by the time you get done troubleshooting this thing and rebuilding it, you would have been better off just replacing the unit. That's why our heat exchanger warranty, that heat exchanger fails, you replace the unit. The control board, now we have a little red book we give out in all my tankless classes, and it's available to everybody through the Rheem literature app. It's free. It's a troubleshooting guide. Everything you're seeing in here is in that troubleshooting guide. This control board right here, this picture's in that book, points out all the plugs, all the dip switches, shows you where they're at. They're all labeled so that when you are troubleshooting, if it tells you to take a reading with your own meter at plug K, pin 2, 3, between pins 2 and 3, the red and the blue wire, all you have to do is look at this picture right here. You're going to know what plug K is and pick it up and take care of it. Condensate neutralizer, like I said, we're the only ones that I know of put this in our unit. That condensate neutralizer is good for around 10 years, 10 to 12 years in normal residential use. It is based on hours. There's 3 codes that go with that. There's a 29, a 92, and a 93. The 29 is telling you it's blocked. I will tell you that I get a lot of calls on code 29, and usually it's a brand new install. Guy put the heater in, forgot that he had to run a drain off of that on the bottom, and it's plugged. There's a little plug on the bottom, keeps it from just running out. And this thing will generate about 1.5 gallons of condensate an hour. So he gets in, fires it up, checks it out, everything's working, the people are happy, he leaves, gets about 30 minutes down the road and gets a call that the unit shut down. He forgot to unplug that on the bottom and run the drain off of it. What happens, there's two little red wires you see up in the upper right corner there, 2 screws going down into the top of that neutralizer. As the condensate fills up, shorts those out, sends a signal to the board and says, hey, I'm backed up here, unplugged, the drain's not working, shuts the heater down. You unplug the bottom, run the drain off of it, it drains out, unit fires up, it works fine. That's a code 29. 92 is based on hours. At around 9 years and 6 months, it's going to throw a code 92, which is telling you that, hey, I've done as much as I can do. You need to look at switching me out, putting a new neutralizer in. I'm starting to not be able to keep this stuff down where it should be. And in a code 93, if they ignore that, is going to shut the heater down until you do that. Water volume control and bypass assembly. This is in the bottom, that little filter screen you see in that picture in the left, that is on your inlet coming right in the bottom of the heater. It's a thumb, like a thumb type screw that you can back out, clean that out. You ever get a P1 low flow, check that. Odds are it's plugged up with pipe dope or particulate, restricting the flow. Controls, this is the way we control our temperature coming out of the unit. The way this works, you have thermistors on your outlet of your heat exchanger, the inlet where your water's coming in, and then in between. And what this does, that water coming out of that heat exchanger could be at 160, 170 degrees. It measures that. It says, okay, they want 115 coming out. it takes and uses the bypass portion of this valve and injects cold water into the hot water, brings it down to that 115 degrees, and we hit our temperature plus or minus 1 degree too. So it's right in there, holds and maintains a constant temperature for you. That's what that bypass valve is doing for you. The burner assembly, 6 screws and it's out. The ones labeled in green right there. The 3 that are labeled in red, and these pictures, these instructions are in that little red book I was talking about, the troubleshooting guide. You don't want to remove the red, just remove the green. That heat exchanger will pull right up out of there. You can clean it, take care of it, do whatever you need to do with it. The 6-stage heat exchanger. You see ribbon 1 and 2, that's usually down around, and this burner, gentlemen, will run from 11,000 to 199,000 BTU. So that's like a 10.8 to 1 turn down, or actually it's higher than that. So at 11,000 BTU, that's at ribbon 1 and 2 usually. That's where you're at that 0.26 gallons a minute that I was talking about, low flow. And then it steps up as it needs. Now, this unit does not fire at 199,000 and then modulate back to what it needs. It starts out where it needs and just modulates up as the need. As the need is put there, the demand is put there, then the burner will modulate up. It's also low NOx. That's that little funky looking burner you see on the left-hand side, that short ribbon. That's the low NOx ribbon for this unit. Remote controls. You can have up to 3 remote controls on our units. They can be up to 195 feet away. It's a 2-conductor 18-gauge thermostat wire, easy to run. Obviously, if this is a retrofit, you're not going to be running wires through walls to get remotes in other places. But in a new installation, this is a nice feature to be able to put these extra remotes in there. So you've got one in your master and set your temperature where you want it for your shower. Once flow starts through this unit, you can't change the temperature from another remote. So until that shower shut off, you can't play games with people and give them a cold shower or try to give them a hot shower. It's magnetically attached to the unit when you get it out of the box. There's 2 magnets on the back. If you want to mount it to the wall, the unit that comes with it or the controller, pull it off the unit, take the 2 magnets off, and there's a bracket there you can mount it. Cascading our units is really simple. If it's 2 units only, all you need is what we call an easy link cable that they're pointing out there. Now, you do not need this extra 15-gallon point-of-use tank that they show in here. Some people use that with Recirc. It's not necessary with Recirc. If you want to use it, you can. But the easy link cable plugs in between the 2 units on that control board we looked at before. There's 2 dip switches, 1 on each unit. You'll flip up. It tells it it's talking. The units will talk back and forth. We do not have a master slave, and you can put up to 20 of our units side by side. What I mean by a master slave, all of the other tankless out there use a master slave situation. So you have one unit that's considered the master. Now they do rotate their usage around to the other units, but if that master goes out, the whole system is down. So it's not true redundancy. We don't do that. We have up to, like I said, up to 20 units can be sitting there hooked together. At any point, if any one of those heaters fails, the rest of them keep right on going. They don't care. So it's true redundancy. It does give you a signal and let you know, hey, there's a unit down or we have an issue with this unit, but it keeps the whole system running. You don't lose the system for it. Recirculation. Nice, just some interesting little facts here on these next 2 slides. Average home wastes 26 hours a year waiting on water to get to the shower or the tap. Okay, that's enough time to listen to every Beatles song nonstop, which I didn't know that. It's also 12,000 gallons of water, 256,000 6-ounce cups of coffee that go down the drain waiting on hot water. So that's a big push right there for putting Recirc in just to save water and gas. Typical recirc, if you've got a dedicated recirc line, now they're showing this recirc pump way out on the end of that line. It's typically it's going to be closer to the unit. With our unit, a single unit, if you're recircing and you have a dedicated line, you can use, we have a kit with Taco pump manufacturing. It's called it's a Taco 15. Comes with a whip that plugs right into the control or the control board on the unit. You don't have to do any run any power for the unit or put timers or aquastats on it. The unit itself controls it, and it's all timer based. If you don't have a dedicated return line, some of the things you can do with our tankless. This is the one they're showing here, I believe, is a Grundfos. It's a pump, mounts under a cabinet furthest fixture. It has what they call a crossover valve. So it basically takes the lukewarm or cool water, pushes it back through onto the cold side of that cold line, till it gets hot water to the hot side, and keeps that main hot that way. The way that crossover valve works, it's got a little thermally controlled check in it. At 95 degrees, it opens up and it closes back off at 105. So that's how it controls the water back and forth, so that you're not getting cold backfed into your hot. Something to keep in mind, newer washing machines. These washing machines today, these high efficiency machines, the LGs and Samsungs and all of them, do not fill like they used to. They don't just fill the drum up, wash the clothes, drain the drum, fill it up, rinse it, and drain. They spit water in. Well, because they spit water in, they will not activate a tankless. So if they want to wash in hot water, they're not going to be able to wash in hot water with a tankless unless you've got recirc on that system. You've got to keep that main hot. Otherwise, it's not going to get hot water to the washer. So that's something to keep in mind. Setting water temperature on ours is really simple. 120 is our factory default. So if that unit ever loses power or you shut it off for any reason, it's gonna, when it comes back on, it's automatically going to go to 120 degrees. So if it needs to be changed, you're going to have to do that at that point. If you want to go above 120, you can. What you have to do is hold the up and down arrow in for about 5 seconds. That 120 is going to start flashing. When it flashes, you don't let go of the up and down arrow, or I'm sorry, you let go of the down arrow, and it's going to go to 140 immediately. Then you can step it down to, in 5-degree increments, back down to 120 or below. You can also run this unit below 100 degrees. And I've had guys ask me, why would you want to do that? Who wants water under 100 degrees? I used to pipe up a lot of dialysis clinics. Dialysis clinics like their water around 97, 98 degrees body temperature. You can do that with this unit. To do it, you do the same thing. You take it all the way down to 100, hold the 2 arrows in, the 100's going to flash, let go of the up arrow, and start stepping it down. And you can take this all the way down to 87 degrees if you want to. Sizing tankless. Our unit, groundwater up there, I didn't research this, I should have. I know my area is around 52 degree average year round. Vermont, I'm thinking where you are, the parallel, you're probably looking at about a 48 to 50 degree average year round temperature. So when you start sizing tankless for a house, our 199,000 BTU unit will basically run a 3-bath home if they have normal showers. I'm talking 1.5 to 2 gallon a minute shower heads. I'm not talking about the car wash showers where they got all the body sprays and rain heads. If that's the case, you're going to have to do the calculation, figure how much water they're pushing and what their demand is. You may have to put 2 units in or 3. I've got a house in Cleveland where I've got 5 in there just to maintain the master shower, if you can imagine that. So our unit will, like I said, push 5.4 gallons. That's on a 70 degree rise. So let's say your water temperature is coming in at 50 degrees. You set it at 120, that's 70 degrees. You're going to get 5.4 gallons a minute out of this heater. Now, something to keep in mind, you can really cheat a tankless. all you have to do is lower that temperature a little bit. Nobody takes a shower at 120 degrees. 120 degrees is going to scald you. I guarantee you, if everybody goes and measures a shower tonight before they get in with a thermometer, they're going to see they're between 102 and 105, 106 degrees. 106, 107 is hot. 102, 105, somewhere in that range is where everybody is. You set that down to 105, you just took 15 degrees off that delta T now. Now you're raising that water, you're having to raise that water up 60 degrees or 55 degrees. You're getting 6.3 to 7.6 gallons a minute now. Now you're pushing way more water through that tankless than you were. So keep that in mind. This is just another thing talking about sizing, and that 1 gallon a minute on the washing machine that you see right there, like I said, gentlemen and ladies, these new washing machines don't do that. They will if you do a deep fill, but more often than not, it's just spitting water. So like I said, go through, count up your total GPM in the house, what you're required, then figure out what you're going to need as far as tankless to do it, 1, 2, or more. Maintenance, that screen I was talking about on the bottom that's located on the inlet has to be cleaned occasionally. Condensate neutralizer, like I said, it'll give you 10 years. That's under normal family of 4 use is 10 years. So if it's just a couple in the home, not using the water as much as a family of 4, that condensate neutralizer is going to last longer because, like I told you, it's based on hours of use is how that thing works. Periodically inspect the burner. I tell guys when you go in to flush these things, and they need to be flushed at least once a year, any tankless, they're going to get scale buildup in them. Now, if a person has treatment in their house, if they've got a water softener or Pelican system, something along that line where they're treating the water, if they're softening it, you can get a couple of years, 3 years between flushes on these. But if they're not, you need, even city water, you need to be flushing them at least once a year. While you're doing that, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour to flush. You're going to use white vinegar, just distilled vinegar is all you need. While you're flushing it, you can pull that burner out. You can pull the flame rods out. All these things except that screen right there, you can pull out, clean, check, make sure it's 100% and put it back in. Now, you don't need to do that every year, but every couple flushes, that's not a bad idea. Flushing a tankless, it's a real simple process. You got your service valves you installed when you put the tankless in, and never install one without service valves, gentlemen and ladies. I've had too many people call me and say, hey, I got to flush this unit. There's no service valves. Well, you got to go buy service valves and put them in now. It's a lot easier to put them in on the install than it is to cut them in later. But you put your hoses in your bucket, hook your pump up, put your 2 gallons of vinegar in your bucket, hook it to your valves, flip your waters where you're not going to no water's coming in or out going to the house or from the source. Everything's going through that bucket. You turn your pump on. The simple process that's in this little red book I keep talking about. You go to your controller, you turn the power off, you wait 10 seconds, you turn the power on again, wait 10 more seconds and unplug the unit. What that does, you remember that bypass valve we were talking about that we have, that cheats that bypass valve. So it shuts that bypass valve so that it flushes up through the heat exchangers and back out. If you don't do that, all you're going to flush is through that bypass. Keep that in mind if you're flushing a Rheem tankless. And we do not require our unit to be running or powered. Some tankless out there want them powered when you're flushing them. Ours doesn't have to be. Maintenance mode display, to get into it, you go to your unit. You hold, there's 2 ways to do it. You turn the water flow off underneath on the first way, go to the remote control, press the up and down arrow at the same time for 5 seconds. It's going to flash a 1E. That tells you you're in maintenance mode. The other way to do it, it's real simple. If you've got the cover off, which you probably will be if you're there to troubleshoot anyway, you don't have to turn water off or do anything. You just go to dip switch 1 on the control board, flip it to the up position, and it's going to put you in maintenance mode. Once you're in maintenance mode, this thing will store up to 8 error codes. All right, 8 error codes it keeps in the history. You can look at those. That 1E is going to flash. When it goes out, there's going to be a number flash up behind it, whether it's a 63, 29, 97. That's the error code. And then it's going to go off and the 1E is going to flash again. You hit your, I'm sorry, I got something in my throat here. You hit your up arrow, or I'm sorry, your down arrow, and it's going to go to it's going to go to the next digit, number 2. Then it's going to, and you can hit it again, go to 3, and you can read all 8 of your error codes going through that way. Now, the other thing you can do with your, while you're in maintenance mode, now you have to have the unit running when you're looking at these down here in the Y table. You go underneath, you turn your water back on, turn the unit, make sure the unit's on, go turn a faucet on, get the unit to fire up. Now you can look at your flame rod status, GPM flow rate, temperature coming in, temperature of the water coming out of the heat exchanger. All this stuff can be looked at in maintenance mode. Same way, you step down, you hit the down arrow, and it's going to step through each one of them. It'll flash one Y, and then it'll flash up whatever you want to look at. Getting out of maintenance mode, getting out of maintenance mode, if you did it the first way with the controller, same thing to get back out of it. Turn the water off underneath, because as long as there's flow on this unit, remember I told you, you can't do anything with the controller. You turn that water off underneath, turn the power off, hit the power button again, it's going to come on, it's automatically going to go to 120 because that is factory default. The other way, if you did it with the shortcut, you didn't turn water off, didn't do anything, all you have to do is go back in, flip that dip switch back to the off position. Whatever that tankless was set at, if you didn't change temperature to make it do something so you could take a reading, if it was set at 115 and you didn't change anything, when you flip that dip switch, it's going to go right back where it was set. Common error codes. 1L is a flow. That's telling you that you need to flush it. If you're not flushing like you should be, you're going to get this error code at some point because it's going to start detecting restricted flow in the unit. 11 error code, that's usually gas. A lot of times guys will call me. I've had guys literally, what it's telling you is that it's not detecting a flame. So if you've got spark and you can look through your sight glass or spark there, then you've got a gas issue. Something's wrong, you don't have gas there. That igniter can give you an 11 error code though. I've had that happen. If it doesn't ignite the flame, it's not going to detect it. So you got to make sure that igniter's solid too. Error code 12, had the flame and then lost it. 9 out of 10 times, that's usually one of the flame rods is just dirty. It's not detecting the flame. Or it could be 1/2-inch gas line. We do want 3/4-inch gas run to our unit. If you, again, follow National Fuel and Gas Code and do your due diligence, for 199,000 BTUs, you can only run 18 inches of 1/2-inch gas line. So if you ran 24 feet, like some people say you can do, of 1/2-inch gas line, there's a good chance you're going to get an error code 12 and a failure because you're going to be starving the unit. So always run 3/4 inch to the unit. Now, real quick before I go further, a lot of guys push back on that because they say, hey, I got to go back now, tear all that gas line out, put a 3/4 inch T in. That's not the case. Remember I said you could go 18 inches. So if you're changing out with a tank heater and you got a 1/2-inch drop, take that 1/2-inch drop out, leave the T in place, put a 2-inch nipple, 1/2-inch nipple in, a 3/4 by 1/2 increaser, and then run your 3/4 on down into the unit and you're solid. You'll have plenty of gas. It's a volume issue, gentlemen. When this thing lights, that's what you got to keep in mind. When you start pulling 199,000 BTUs, that thing's going to be going to need some gas there. It's going to be sucking some gas. So you got to have that 3/4 there to maintain it. Error code 13. More often than not, that's because some little critter got up in there and built a nest in one of the vent pipes. That's 9 out of 10 times that's what causes that. Or you've overrun your vent. Remember I said you go 150 feet. Whenever we talk vent lengths, we're talking developed length. So you have to add your 90s in. And a standard DWV 90, which most plumbers, that's what they use when they put a tankless in because that's what they got on their truck. That accounts for 10 feet of pipe. So if I tell you you can go 50 feet and you got two 90s, well, that's 20 feet. So now you can only put 30 feet of straight pipe. So keep that in mind, gentlemen. You got to add those 90s in there. Long sweep 90s are only 5 feet. Maintenance feature. This is a Rheem exclusive. Like I said, you need to flush these things at least once a year. You go in to sell a tankless unit to a homeowner, I recommend, highly recommend, you sell a service contract. They put them on their furnaces, put it on your heater. Why not put it on this water heater? It's a big investment. Come out here once a year and flush this and take care of it for me. If they don't want to do that, one of your options with a Rheem, when you're doing the install, you flip a couple dip switches, push that min-max button a couple times. This thing's going to put an error code in here of 88. At 500 hours, which is just a little over a year, it's going to throw a code 88 and it's going to shut the heater down. You're going to be getting a call from the homeowner saying, hey, this heater you put in, it's just died on me. It quit. Well, what's it doing? Well, it's throwing an 88. It's just flashing 88 and stopped running. It's beeping. Well, that's telling you that it needs to be serviced. Remember, I told you when we put it in, you need to service it once a year. It's saying, hey, it's time to service me. I need to get out there and service it. Well, can you do that? Well, 9 out of 10 times this is Christmas Eve or in the middle of the night. I can't get out there tonight. Well, what am I going to do? I need hot water. Well, you hold the up and down arrow in on the controller, and the unit is going to, for 10 seconds, the unit then is going to fire and take off, and they've got hot water. Every 4 hours, it's going to throw that code 88, though, and shut down. So it's not like they're going to tell you, don't come out and service this thing. You're going to go out and service it because they're going to keep resetting it every 4 hours for the rest of eternity. So it's just a guaranteed way to keep people, make sure they maintain the heater. They maintain this thing, they'll get 25 years of service out of it or better. Impact on warranty for different things. Like I said, it's a 12-year heat exchanger warranty, 5-year parts, 1-year labor. If you put a hydronic forced air handler, which we have, we can tie with ours, works real well. I've got a lot of guys even north of me in Michigan that use it, so don't think it's too cold. It works well. You can get all your hot water and your heat from one unit. If you do that, it's going to knock it down to 10 years on the heat exchanger because of the amount of use it's going to take. Recirc doesn't affect it. Commercial heat exchanger is 5 years, parts 5 years, and labor 1. Real quick, this is our commercial rack system. You can order this in 3 different configurations. We call a wall mount, which is half of that base where you'd mount it against the wall. We call wall hung, which is no base, and it comes just already pre-piped that you hang on the wall. Or this floor mount, which, like I said, this all comes pre-piped. Everything you see underneath is done, and you can order this in 2 all the way up to 6 units on this back-to-back floor mount, 3 units on the wall mount. Remember I said you could put 20 of these to side by side. So the way this is made, you see the copper connections there and your gas. You slide the next rack into it. If you need 12 of them, you just keep adding to it, and you can keep connecting these all the way down. But it saves you all that labor hookup. All you got to do after you get done with that, hook your water, your gas up, hook your electric up. It's all rewired, pre-wired. Run your vents, and you're done. And you can common vent our commercial tankless unit. Like I said, you got single point electrical connection. You've got a gas hookup, water hookup on both sides, so you can daisy chain these things and walk them right on down. When you order these too, this commercial unit comes with, there's a tail on the end of the model number CM. That means communication module is already installed in the commercial unit. You can daisy chain up to 20 of these together with that it's not an easy link cable, but it's similar. Just cable to cable to cable right on down the line. And one controller on the end takes care of the whole thing. We have a Combi boiler, 199, 180,000 BTU, gives you 120,000 in your heating side. Most Combis only give you about 112. Gives you 199,000 on the domestic side. Working real well. I got a bunch of them in my area, people using them. They like them. They work real well if they're done properly. They have to be installed properly and have to be programmed, but they work well if they're installed properly. There's a picture of that hydronic air handler. Now that's with a mid efficiency. You would be using it with a high efficiency. But that's the air handler on the bottom, and then you have to put the A coil on if you want air conditioning. But that unit right there is giving you your hot and your domestic hot water, and heating your house. And it works real well, up to about a 2,500 square foot home up in Lower Michigan, which is that's a pretty good size home. So does a good job. Gentlemen, that was the end of it. Do we have any questions out there? Is everybody still with me?
Yeah, we're all here, Rusty.
Rusty, I have a question for you.
Okay.
If the 88 code flashes at an inopportune time, you said that the homeowner can go down and set it, but every 4 hours it's going to have to be reset. Is there a limit on the amount of times that they can reset it before they get locked out?
No, it'll just keep doing it. But what it does now, it's going to keep doing it until you go do the service on it, and then you have to do a reset on that code. Now, at that point, if they want to sign a service contract so that doesn't happen again, you don't have to put that code back in there, and it'll never happen again. If they don't want to sign a service contract, all you're doing is resetting it, and it'll happen again in 500 hours. So it's making people maintain their tankless.
So I find that the due diligence line that you use is very, very important as far as the plumbers making sure that they have the BTUs, the gas volume to accommodate a tankless installation, right? Yep. I think that's an interesting class. Maybe we can talk to Cooper or whoever Diane has been working with to deep dive into that a little bit more, to really help the guys understand that a cubic foot per hour is the equivalent of 1,000 BTUs. Going out to their meter, snapping a photo of the tag and converting to BTUs, right? Adding up the BTUs in the home, kind of going through that process. The due diligence process is really, really important, and it's obviously the first thing that happens. So that's something, if these guys had any plumbers or anyone had any interest in that, we could offer them a course on that as well.
Quite true. We offer courses on a lot of stuff, gentlemen. If you got guys that need to learn basic multimeters, I teach classes on multimeters. I mean, I'll teach guys how to use a manometer, how to use a combustion analyzer. We do all that. So keep that in mind. If you've got techs out there that need to be schooled, we can school them.
Does anybody have anything to ask or add? Cooper or Peter or Diane, Tom, anybody?
I guess
I don't have anything to add. I thought it was excellent content, Rusty. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I've got a quick question, Rusty. Can you go over the part again too about the high efficiency washers where they spit water? You're saying that they absolutely will not get hot water?
Well, now if you don't have recirc, they won't, because what they do, my wife bought one. Okay. I didn't know this until we got ours. And then I started putting some thought into it, and it's like, okay, this isn't going to work. Well, she doesn't wash in hot water, but if you've got somebody that wants to wash in hot water, those washing machines, the old washing machines that you're used to, when you hit start, it just started filling the drum up. Right. And when it was doing that, it was pulling about a half a gallon to a gallon an hour. So that was enough flow to get, half gallon to a gallon a minute. That's enough flow to make that heater kick on. So they got hot water. These newer ones, literally, if you listen to them, all you're hearing is psh, and it stops. Psh, and it stops. And then it spins and it weighs the clothes. I mean, it's crazy the way they work, but they don't give you a steady stream. So you won't get hot water out of your tankless without recirc. You keep that main hot with recirc. Now it doesn't matter because it's spitting, but it's spitting hot water because the main's heated.
Okay, thanks.
That makes sense?
Or if another fixture is running the house that's circulating hot water, which you don't want to have to do, right? Isn't that defeating the purpose of the water savings that those machines are designed to do?
Right. Yeah, you like you said, you can go turn a sink on, heat the main up, get the unit fired up, but at that point you're defeating the water saving and everything else. So.
Absolutely.
Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? I guess not. All right. Well, I enjoyed this. We're going to do it again at 3 o'clock this afternoon.